Vikings Vent Line, what's going on? Declan Goff here. We're going to be back at full strength here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and also on wherever you find your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, scorenorth.com. We're going to have Colin, Ryan, Justin here to break down some Vikings talk. We're going to do some NFL draft talk. We're going to talk some backup quarterback speculation, and even go down memory lane and figure out who is our favorite Vikings backup quarterback. There's been so many great starting quarterbacks, emphasis on great. There's also been a hilarious amount of backup quarterbacks. We had a fun conversation with this on Mackie and Judd on Friday, so I want to bring in these three dudes and get their opinions on that as well. If you want to join Vikings Vent Line in a future Sunday show, please shoot me an email. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. I have some guys in queue, but I do have openings coming up the next couple weeks. By all means, shoot me an email. You can also DM me on Twitter. I'll get you in the list. I know everyone has Vikings takes. We're going to try to do this every Sunday, basically, leading up back to the season like we used to do with Mackie and Judd. So it should be a fun time. Shoot me an email, vikingsventline@gmail.com. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, too, on our YouTube channel that you're watching this on the Purple Daily Podcast, and on our second YouTube channel, that's Score North MN, where you can find talks on the Twins. We'll do additional Vikings talks there as well, Timberwolves, Wild, everything, movie reviews. Hit that subscribe button, and thank you for supporting Score North. All right, let's get our guys in here. We have Colin. We have Ryan. We have Justin. It is WrestleMania Sunday, as some of us are supporting and knowing. We have what Justin said his buddies are on his way over. Colin's rocking a Ric Flair shirt. Ryan, I don't know if it's going to be turning on WrestleMania tonight, but maybe, it's on Peacock. If you have Peacock, by all means, turn it on, man.
Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, if he comes back, I'm all in. That's exactly why I want to see what happens. We could totally turn this into a WrestleMania breakdown, and Phil Mackey would honestly love that. But we will keep it on Vikings talk to start things off. Boys, there's been a lot of speculation recently that obviously with the with San Francisco trading up to third overall, could a fourth team maybe jump in there? The Falcons claim they're open for business, that they would be open to the idea of possibly making a trade and trading back. So my first question is, and we've discussed this with Mackie and Judd before too, should the Vikings trade up to fourth overall? What would you be willing to give up? And who would you like to take at fourth overall? Would it be another one of those quarterbacks? Would it be Penei Sewell and just sew up the offensive line? We're going to start with Colin. So, Colin, what would you do to get up to fourth overall, and who would you take?
Honestly, I think Jerry Jones is going to be psychotic, and he's going to trade up to 4 to get Kyle Pitts. I'm really not going to lie, because that's what Jerry Jones does. With that being said, if the Vikings were to trade up, I would say we'd have to swap number ones, give the second, third round pick, the top fourth round pick, and a 1 and 3 next year. And Penei Sewell, to me, is the answer. If people are looking at him as being a guy that, he didn't play last year, but to me, for a guy that big, that size, he was dominant 2 years ago. And the way I look at it, it's an extra year of tread on the tires, and he can run block, he can pass block. And one thing about the left tackles that have come out of the Pac-12, they tend to be able to block really well when it comes to the passing game, whether it's Baselli, whether it's Tyron Smith, whether it's whoever. You get Hall of Fame guys that play left tackle that can pass block. Whether I think the Vikings are going to do it or not, we'll see. But I think that would be the best move.
Yeah, I think it's the logical move, obviously, because, I personally still think it's Trey Lance that goes third overall. Now there's this Mac Jones team. I think it's Trey Lance. I think San Francisco and other people are just throwing out smoke screens to avoid it. Lance seems like the guy, too, that Shanahan would love to have there. But I think if you're going to go up to fourth overall and you're going to give up those resources, trading up to fourth to maybe take the fourth quarterback in Justin Fields, odds are only one or two of these guys are going to pan out and be superstars. Probably Trevor Lawrence. I like Zach Wilson a lot too, but you don't know with the small body of work at BYU. Odds are the majority of these 5 quarterbacks that are probably going to go in the first round, only 1 or 2 of them are probably going to have legitimate NFL careers. And if you're going to be the Vikings and you want to trade up to fourth to get that offensive lineman and just say, hey, we now have the best lineman available. I know we gave up a lot of resources, but Kirk, your left side is protected. Dakota Dozier probably doesn't have to step on the field ever again. I know he's back with the Vikings. Good for him. Get your paycheck, buddy. I'm all for guys making their money, but at the same time, I don't want him on the football field. So that would be probably the logical thing to do, is to take the Penei Sewell. But what about you, Ryan? Would if you traded up to fourth overall, what would you get? And would you also go with Sewell or someone else at fourth overall?
Well, I would jump up to fourth overall by basically trading a load, but I want to get a second round pick too. I think the way I would do that is basically package our first, third, 3/4, 2 fifths, and then a sixth.
Wow. All
And then our 2022 and 2023 first round picks. I don't want Jerry Jones to jump up and grab Kyle Pitts because I'm going to tell you the truth right now, man. Kyle Pitts looks like a stud, man. He just looks like he could just totally rock it. And can you imagine, guys, like the 12 personnel, having Thielen and Jefferson and Smith along with Pitts together?
Yes.
You can't stack the box against Dalvin. Come on now. I mean, I know we got to get rid of our trash can of Dakota Dozier, but how do you seriously line up against that? How do you come up against that? I mean, it would be tough. It'd be difficult.
For sure.
So,
dude, you're speaking my language. I've been saying this on Kyle Pitts too. He is going to be an absolute freak. He's not just a tight end. This dude can play wide receiver. He's insane. I'm really excited to see him ball out. Trading up to 4th overall to get Pitts, a little steep. Like if he starts sliding into the draft and it's like maybe 10 or 11, the Vikings are at 14, I might consider it. I might consider it then because you probably aren't going to give up the same resources, obviously, that you would have to give up to 4th overall. But I do echo your statement. Like, go all in on offense. Just say, hey, good luck trying to stop us with Thielen and Jefferson and Herb Smith and Kyle Pitts and Dalvin Cook. I mean, my God, that's like a video game player's heaven right there on offense. It'd be fun as hell. What about you, Justin? For 4th overall, your GM Rick Spielman here, what would you do? What would you give up, and who would you take at 4th overall?
Well, honestly, for me, I don't think it's worth trading up to the top 5 unless you're taking a quarterback. Mm-hmm. To move up to the top 5 from where we're at number 14, it's going to take a lot of equity to get up there, And I think from us jumping from 14 to 4, we'd have to give up a lot, like our previous guy just said. We'd have to give up our 2 third-round picks. We have 4 fourth-round picks. We have a 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick. And so me personally, I don't think it's worth it at all. The only reason why we trade up there is to get maybe the franchise quarterback, because I believe in that Penei Sewell, unless he goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, he's going to slide a little bit. And I don't think Miami at 6 is going to take him. I don't think Detroit at 7 is going to be taking him. Carolina maybe at 8, I think, has a big interest. And I think with Carolina giving up their 2nd-round picks next year and 4th-round pick next year and the 6th-round pick this year, they may be willing to move back a little bit. So I think at the 8 range, the 9 range with Denver, with George Patton being the guy there, mm-hmm. I think that 8 and 9 range is more of the range that we're going to try to trade up for. Me personally, if I was Rick Spielman, there's no way I'm trading up. I'm going to trade back in the draft. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to trade back as much as I can and try to accumulate a 2nd-round pick if I can. Maybe even more 3rd-round picks, because if you're able to trade back and you're still able to get a quality cornerback, for instance, or a pass rusher, or heck, you can get yourself an offensive lineman, because this offensive lineman class is really deep. You can get guys at the end of the 1st round who you can plug and play right away. And one of those guys I like a lot is Alex Leatherwood from Alabama. 2019, he was all SEC guard. 2020, he was all SEC tackle. I know Ben Lieber on KFan has been bringing him up a few times. Another tackle, too, Samuel Cosme from Texas. He's another athletic tackle that I think we could target. So, and those guys I think will be around that 20 to 26 range. So if we can find someone to trade back, I think I'd rather do that. If we're going to trade up, though, and for that 4th overall pick, the only person that I want to trade up for is Justin Fields. And there's no reason why, in my opinion, he should even be there at number 4. Mm-hmm. To me, he's the number 2 quarterback, and it's not even close. I don't think Zach Wilson is better than him. And if I were the Jets, and if I was a Jets fan, I'd be fearful right now that they're going to take Zach Wilson over Justin Fields, because Zach Wilson in 2019, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And look at the quality of play that Justin Fields is going up against to a Zach Wilson. So if I'm the Vikings, I have no interest in trading up to 4th overall, and I'd rather try to trade back.
Yeah, man, it's a really good point, because just 1 pick in the first 70 selections right now, as it stands right now for the Vikings, I believe, without that 2nd-round pick. It definitely makes more sense, and I think it's also more likely a trade back happens than obviously trading up to 4th or even moving up to Denver's spot at like 9 or 10. However, It is very interesting. It's if you're going to go to fourth, that means you're looking at a quarterback. Like you're looking at something big. You're not trading up to fourth to get a tackle. And I know this team desperately needs a tackle. And guys like Elijah Vera Tucker can be there. Maybe Darius Shaw's there. You know, there's going to be options, but you definitely don't want to just be taking the best position available when there's other guys that could be there at 14. Yeah, like you never know how a draft board shakes up. I personally am bullish on Zach Wilson. I think the dude's going to be a baller, but you're right. I mean, Ohio State's played better competition. Justin Fields has a bigger body of work. I think he's more athletic than Zach is. It is a curious move what the Jets are going to do, and if anything, has shown us for the longest time, the Jets will most likely screw it up. So, I would, even though us Vikings fans are tortured, I don't think we would screw up that decision. The Jets will definitely screw up that decision. Speaking of quarterbacks, though, if the Vikings could possibly take a rookie quarterback, there's maybe someone you could trade for. I don't think there's big free agent name out there. You know, Teddy Bridgewater claims that he has the free roams to go back and basically facilitate his own trade. I love Teddy. I know that ain't going to happen at $10 million, and I don't want a backup QB at $10 million on this team right now. But what would you guys do? Colin, we'll start with you. Prioritizing a backup for Kirk. Are you looking on draft day? Is there someone you'd like to trade for? What would you like to see the Vikings do? Or would you like to see him just keep Sean Mannion?
Well, I mean, as far as when it comes to Sean Mannion, I mean, I equate Sean Mannion to if you were painting a wall and you were trying to paint it like an exotic color, it would be like Sean Mannion would be the primer that you put on the wall before you put the exotic color over it. That's about is what I would get out of Sean Mannion. I'm going to go totally off the reservation on this a little bit, and I'm really bullish on this guy, and I guess you can go kind of a reckless speculation on this call.
Okay.
But there's going to be an expendable quarterback from a Florida team that's out here. It's going to be out there. There's going to be a new quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. His name's going to be Trevor Lawrence. Urban Meyer is the new head coach. He's going to bring in Alex Smith to be the whisperer for Trevor Lawrence. There's a guy who they drafted in the 6th round that has played in the NFL. He would be the ultimate, Napoleon Dynamite moment. But I'm telling you, if the Vikings were to trade their last 4th round pick and maybe add a 6th for Gardner Minshew, this guy has played in the NFL. There's a reason why they're picking number 1, and it's not because they're good. They have a relationship with Keenan McCardle, their new wide receivers coach. Minshew's never had the talent around him. You bring him in to back up Kirk for the next year or two. If things go sour with Kirk for this year and they blow the whole thing up, at least you got a guy who's in there that could be a guy who steps in if they decide to draft a rookie quarterback next year. I think he's a really likable guy, and he's going to be he's going to be out. He's going to be a 3rd stringer, and it won't cost them a lot to get him. I mean, he's on a 6th round contract.
Right.
I think he could be a guy that literally could step. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be the starter, but he's far more intriguing than Nate Browning or Nate Stanley, Jake Browning, or Sean Mannion. So to me, he would be a really easy guy to like. He kind of reminds me of like a Jake Delhomme, like just kind of a fire starter, a gunslinger. He could step right in if something happened, and who knows? So I'm going a little crazy. It's not. I have nothing against some of these rookies out of the top 5, but to me, I like a guy who has experience and has a little bit of toughness, and I think he's got it. So.
Yeah, I love that idea. I mean, Gardner Minshew is making chump change. He's made a handful of starts. He probably is an ideal backup quarterback. Like, he probably has a legitimate chance to play in this league as a backup for 5-10 years. Like that, that's probably his ceiling. We know what he is. And also, Kirk has played so poorly to start seasons basically the last 2 years, most notably, that I want some pressure underneath him. Like, he knows Sean Mannion isn't going to challenge him for his job. And if they traded for Gardner Minshew, he also knows that, like, Gardner's not going to be pushing him to challenge. He's not worried about it. But at the same time, I like the idea of having someone behind him. And even though he's been an Iron Man and he's been durable, he's taken a lick behind that offensive line, he's 1 sack away from getting hurt. And if Sean Mannion has to come in, your season's over. Like, that's it. Like, pack a lunch. Like, Gardner Minshew can at least steal you a game or two. He's a competent quarterback. Yeah, man. I really, really like that. Even not even a 4th, I think you could probably get him for even something less. I think that's a really good idea. Ryan, what do you think for backing up Kirk Cousins? Are you looking at the draft? Is there someone you'd like to trade for? Who should back up Kirk Cousins next season?
Definitely don't want to bring in a primer.
Yeah.
I honestly, this is the reason why I would want the Falcons second round pick as well is because I would go after Kellen Mond. I think that guy's gonna be a baller. I think he's gonna be a really good quarterback someday, and he can back up Cousins because now Cousins' contract is it's guaranteed for the next 2 years. So why not bring somebody in to learn behind him, and then when Cousins is gone, he takes over. And I could just see that being a really good thing. Right now, like with the way the offensive line is, I don't know. I honestly don't think Cousins can hold up. I think he's taken up too much of the salary cap. And I really think that he is like basically one hit away from not playing.
Yeah.
And I would hate to throw a rookie quarterback into that. But like you said before, Sean Mannion, if we have to run with him, we're done. It's simple as that.
I guess too, like if you're really serious, and I don't know, draft season never sleeps. It's 365 days a year. People are already looking at the 2022 draft. So I don't know what the quarterback situation is going into 2022. The only bright side is if you could look at it, if Sean Mannion has to start multiple games, is well, we're probably gonna be picking in the top 5. If ideally if Kirk got hurt early, you're probably going to be picking in the top 5. So that would be the only real silver lining there. But I don't trust him at all. There's a reason why they traded for Sam Bradford when Teddy's knee blew up, because they knew Sean Hill, this was going to go sideways. So we gave up a first-round pick for Sam Bradford. I honestly think that was a fine, like you had to do that. The team was built and you had to make that move. I'd be curious on Kellen Mond. We've heard that name before too. I just think there's so many good also, day 2, day 3 quarterbacks, and my God, Rick Spielman loves the day 3 picks, that you may as well take a chance on someone like that. And also, if you're not going to have more than one pick in the first 68 selections, you also have to always be looking for the next successor to Kirk Cousins. And if Kirk's really going to be here for 2 more years, you may as well start that process early and bring in a rookie and let him learn, like someone like Kellen Mond too, who was very good at Texas A&M, and I could see that. What about you, Justin? Who should the Vikings prioritize to back up Kirk Cousins? Should it be someone in the draft? Is it someone you want to trade for? What would you do?
Well, me personally, I would look in the free agency department. I know Alex Smith may be tied to other places, but if I had my choice, it would definitely be Alex Smith, because I don't think he would be in the position to pressure him too much for the starting spot. However, if Kirk Cousins were to go down for a game, we need somebody that can keep us winning, right? I'm a huge Zimmer guy, I'm a huge Spielman guy, and I'm also a bigger Kirk guy. And I think if Kirk were to ever go down, this team would be in major, major trouble. And with Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer being in the position that they're in this year, they may need to invest a little bit more in a backup quarterback, because if Kirk were to go down, that may be their jobs right there. Totally. So I think ideally Alex Smith or even Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Bridgewater would be such an exciting pick or backup for us. The price probably a little bit too much, like you said earlier. But I don't really trust a backup quarterback or a rookie quarterback. However, I do believe with the structure of our roster and our cap space right now, I do think that when the season starts, our backup quarterback will be Nate Stanley. Am I thrilled about that? Not at all.
That's the other thing too, like guys like Jake Browning have been in the quarterback room for a while, and he was an expensive UDFA and all that. It's like there's a reason he's a UDFA. Like no one wanted him, nobody wanted him. Like the Tony Romo's, that's a needle in a haystack. That does not happen. I'd rather go with a rookie quarterback. It would be, especially if it's a post first round pick, he's gonna be making like hundreds of thousands of dollars only. The Dak Prescott situation for the Cowboys the last few years, they've been able, now he's getting paid obviously and he's deserving of it. However, he was making chump change beforehand, which was great for their roster. They're able to build up the roster around it. Even if Mackie and Judd and myself can be harder on Kirk Cousins, we do know how important he is to the team. You also have to be planning for the backup situation. And if Sean Mannion is that guy, it's toast. You're done. And I love the idea of developing a rookie, starting that process early. I think with Rodgers in Green Bay and them taking Jordan Love, that's its own disaster and hilarious fiasco. But at the same time, I'd rather see the Vikings take a chance on some rookie quarterback in the 3rd round, 4th round. They have plenty of picks to do it. You may as well. It's the most important position in sports. You may as well stockpile assets and not be going after the Nate Stanleys, the UDFA Jake Brownings. I like Alex Smith. I wouldn't mind that idea. But I think the rookie is probably the best route to go for them, and because if it works out, you can also build them around them. This was a fun idea we had on Purple Daily yesterday's episode. We were just talking favorite Vikings backup quarterbacks, and we had a tougher time with the criteria because like technically guys like Randall Cunningham was a backup quarterback, but then he stepped in for Brad Johnson early in '98. He balls out. The rest is history. Is Case Keenum, does that count? Because he was only here for the one season. But there are so many hilarious backup quarterbacks and just quarterbacks this team has run out throughout. At least I'm 28 years old. I've seen I've almost had as many starting quarterbacks as I've had birthdays. But there's also been a good amount of backup quarterbacks like Spurgeon Wynn, Todd Bauman. You could even throw Sean Hill in there. I want to know each of you, who is your guys' favorite Vikings backup quarterback? We'll start with you, Colin.
I mean, you were right on the Randall Cunningham when it came to talent. I mean, I think I was watching Mackey talk about Randall. Well, he's already an established guy, but I'm like, dude, he was selling pools in Las Vegas. Like, he wasn't like he was like, he got picked up off of an NFL, like, flag football game in Las Vegas. Dennis Green gave him the call. So, I mean, it's not like there was a high demand for him. So, I mean, to me, he's the most talented one. If there's a guy who I'd say is the journeyman guy, it's got to be Brad Johnson. I mean, Brad was literally a 12th round pick. He was the third stringer to Rich Gannon and Sean Salisbury. Then they brought in Jim McMahon. They brought in Warren Moon. He was a backup for those guys. And he paid his dues and did it. I'll tell you what, probably the one, and this is just as recent as this last postseason. How about Taylor Heineke?
Yeah.
The guy was literally a practice squad guy who was permanently on the practice squad. He legitimately actually gave the Buccaneers defense their toughest test of the playoffs, and that includes Aaron Rodgers. He played his career game. I mean, I know it was only one game with him, but I find it ironic that the Redskins gave him a 2-year contract after his one really solid performance. I mean, he was playing with nothing to lose. So I like his moxie, but Brad Johnson, to me, he's the ultimate professional. I waited it out. I waited for my chance, and I kind of got stunned when I broke my thumb. So,
yeah.
Brad Johnson.
I think, he broke his foot at training camp kicking in a window. He had I'm not insinuating what happened the night before, but I'm guessing he had some trouble finding his keys or losing his keys, and he broke his foot trying to get into training camp a few years ago and was on the IR. And yeah, that's a really good one. We didn't even come up with that one. Gus Frerotte was mine. I love what Frerotte did in 2004. He stepped in 2008 and led the team to a bunch of wins before T-Jack took things back over. Frerotte was mine. What about you, Ryan? What backup quarterback what's the first one that comes to mind to you?
Case Keenum. I tell you, I cried. I cried when the miracle happened.
Yeah.
I mean, tears just rolling down my face. Oh my gosh, I felt like a big baby. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of the number one. But I had thought about because I was watching Mackey and Judd on Friday, and you guys talked about the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks and backup quarterbacks, and I honestly think Keenum would be number one, and then number two would be Tavares Jackson, because he backed up Brett Favre for a couple of years, and then number three, Joe Webb. Joe Webb was actually surprisingly a decent. I mean, I wouldn't say he was like the best quarterback in the world, but I mean, he was decent for a backup, and he could win us a couple games. And then number four, obviously Brad Johnson. I mean, that guy, gosh, yeah, he might have a rubber band arm, but he could ball too. It's just, you look back and it's basically the guys that could step in and win you a game or two if your big guy went down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember with Keenum, too, when they signed him going into that 2017 season, I remember thinking, is he even going to make the roster? We know Sam Bradford's the starter. Teddy's coming off, a gruesome leg injury, but he could potentially be the backup. I think there's even one other guy I'm forgetting, too, that was in the mix in training camp there as well. I was like, I could see a situation where they don't even keep Case Keenum. He doesn't make the 53. Then it works out. I mean, seriously, one of the best magical carpet ride seasons in NFL history. The miracle, yes, it was insane. He is your George Washington on the backup list. What about you, Justin? Who's your favorite Vikings backup quarterback that you've seen in your lifetime?
Well, when I think of backup quarterbacks, I always get a good chuckle and a really big laugh whenever I think about Josh Freeman when he played that one particular terrible game with us. And I always like thinking about it just because of how bad it was. And it's just like, I bring him up, you just laugh right away, right? That's the only thing you can do about it. But I'm right there with you, Declan. Actually, my favorite is actually Gus Frerotte. And like you said, back in 2004 when he stepped in and helped out Dante Culpepper, and then 2008, one of my favorite plays ever actually was back in the Metrodome on Sunday Night Football against the Chicago Bears, and he connected with Bernard Berrien for the 99-yard bomb. And I just remembered that particular play, and I think it was the first 99-yard play I've ever seen in my life. And that right there, I was like, this guy is amazing. This guy should be our starting quarterback going forward. And I just no, but and then two, also one of my favorite highlights ever of Gus Frerotte, or just in football history, is when he was with the Washington football team now, but when he was celebrating his touchdown and he ran headfirst into the sidelines there and pretty much concussed himself, I think is one of the greatest clips in all of NFL history. So I'm right there with you, Declan. I'd have to say Gus Frerotte.
Fun fact, when I don't play fantasy football anymore, but in 2008, I had just a disaster. My team actually turned out pretty well, if I remember right, but I had a disastrous quarterback situation. Like, I was starting a different quarterback every week. I think I took Carson Palmer, and he got hurt week 1, and I was just rotating these random dudes in. It got to the point where I was like, you know what? Like, I'm a Vikings fan. I want to watch the Vikings. I want the Vikings players in my team. Gus Frerotte obviously is available in the Fantasy Football League. I'll take Gus Frerotte, and I'll start him this week. And I also had Bernard Berrien. So I had Frerotte and Berrien on that night, which, like, I think accumulated, it would be 6 plus 4. It was like a 25-point swing on one play. You know, like, it was like the most maximum one play situation you could probably have in like a standard ESPN league. And I yes, the 99-yard touchdown's memorable, but for like me personally, I was throwing it back to me because I'm like, dude, how did you turn out that I made a good case to make Gus Frerotte a starting quarterback in fantasy football for 1 week. And yeah, the 2 games where he stepped in for Dante in 2004, I think he even won like player of the week. Like, the dude balled out. He had like 400 some yards and 4 touchdowns. It was an awesome performance. Yeah, Gus Frerotte is definitely a legend. He's been on Score North and has helped us out a few times as a contributor as well. All right, guys, I do say I always give out a winner for Vikings Vent Line today. You get 60 seconds for your final take here. I metaphorically pass you my plastic replica of my Universal title belt that Mackie gave me before he left for Seattle. I'm gonna hand it out to Colin this week. Colin, you're our winner, so give me 60 seconds here. And by the way, this is not based because he's wearing a Ric Flair shirt. Okay, like, there's 2 people on this show who said they want to watch WrestleMania. So Ryan, it's not a bias against WrestleMania. Okay, I just want to make that very, very clear.
All right.
But Colin, I'll give you 60 seconds here for one final take.
Heard. All right. So first off, I want to give a shout out to a very good friend of mine who passed away this week. He was from the Lower East Side of St. Paul. A guy named Eric Bezzosa passed away from brain cancer. So tip of the cap to you, my friend. You're a good brother. One big take that I'll put out there. There was a video of Rick Spielman at the BYU Pro Day, and I know you had mentioned some tackle prospects. If we stake at 14, watch very, very closely for the Vikings to trade back up in the second round to look at left tackle Brady Christensen from BYU. Blocked the blind side for Zach Wilson. There's a reason why he was there, and it wasn't to watch Zach Wilson. So I would love to see the Vikings take Trey Lance at 14. That would be a great story, and it would really push Kirk Cousins. But keep an eye on Brady Christensen in the second round.
Yeah, I think our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson threw that out as well, that when he was at that pro day, same thing, that he was there. I saw that one picture where Rick is like standing back behind Zach Wilson and like just in Rick Oz. Yeah, just creepy Rick, just being creepy Rick. But Christensen that's an intriguing one because, yeah, I don't think he's not a first round pick from what everyone's been telling, but he could be someone you slide in and you find in the second round, and it wouldn't be bad at all. Like, if the Vikings went Barrett Tucker and even Brady Christensen with their first 2 picks, like, that's what I'm really curious about with this offensive line talks. Everyone says, fix the line. All right, here's the resources. Is this going to work? Like, we poured the resources in the offensive line. Either it works and Kirk is protected and it's great, or Kirk just is Kirk and he's good and he's a good quarterback, but he doesn't rise up to the situation, isn't able to take the team to the next level. So I think it's a win-win situation if you're able to do that. Colin, Ryan, Justin, Thank you, dudes, for joining me. If anyone watching right now, if you're not familiar with Vikings Vent Line, this is a live show every Sunday. We also do it after every Vikings game during the regular season with Mackie and Judd. We bring listeners onto the screen. We give them time to do some takes. And we also do this off-season version as well on Sunday nights with myself. If you want to get in, send me an email, vikingsventline@gmail.com. I'll put you in queue. I'll get you lined up. Hit that subscribe button on our Purple Daily podcast page, wherever you support us, Apple, Spotify, Score North. Thank you for supporting us there. And we'll see you guys next Sunday. Happy WrestleMania Day, everyone.
Oh,
and Ryan can't wait. And Skull.
So
And Skull.
all right.